And welcome into the Wednesday edition. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Robbie Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Ian Safar here with you on this Wednesday morning, live from our Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Joe Rexrode, good morning. How are you?
Well, I'm doing just great. And if you're watching on video, I'm here to tell you a ghost story.
Yeah.
Gather around the campfire, children. I will say, Robbie, I'm doing a little better today because, I couldn't quite. I mean, you can't stay up for a game that late. But my Dubs look pretty good, man. My Dubs look pretty good last night. I just want you to know.
I'm going to be totally honest with you. I was telling Ian this before the show. I had no idea the NBA started yesterday until about 7:30 last night. I was like, "Oh, NBA starts today, huh? How about that? Nice double overtime matchup between the Rockets and the Thunder."
Yeah, that was great too. I watched basically the overtimes of that, and that was pretty awesome. As much as I am a March supporter when it comes to, what's the best time of the sports calendar. I mean, you got the hockey going, now you got the hoops going, you got the World Series going, we got great football. I mean, it's pretty strong right now, man. Pretty strong.
Sweet. No doubt. Pretty sweet. Ian Safar, good morning. How we doing?
Good morning. Doing well, thank you. Watched some of the Preds last night, and
my condolences.
That was about it.
On the rougher side of things.
Yeah, I didn't watch too much NBA. I do remember them, getting the season started. I remember hearing about that.
I'm glad you remembered.
But no, I didn't watch too much. I watched a little bit of the early game, Houston and OKC. We were trying to figure out. The kids saw the OKC mascot.
Oh, yeah.
And we were like, okay, it's the OKC Thunder. We're like, what is that? Is that a Yeti? And we were looking them up. Bison, apparently.
Okay.
But, yeah, we're doing good. Then watched some of the Preds. That was kind of disappointing. I think watched a little bit of the third once it went to 5-2.
Yeah.
Called it a night. But doing great, guys.
What did we make of the return of the NBA on NBC?
Love it.
Did it throw you back to the 90s?
Yeah, I remember when I was mad when NBC got it from CBS. That's how old I am. So, I don't want to hear a John Tesh song with the NBA. No, I think it's cool. I'm looking here last night. I'm like, so NBC on a, prime time, but this shows you how times have changed. It's on a Tuesday. They're like, yeah, let's just do a freaking doubleheader, have 6 straight hours of hoops on prime time on NBC. I'm for it. But it's obviously something that would have been unthinkable back when, like primetime network television was a highly watched thing.
Yeah. Not the case anymore. Not the case. So Congratulations.
So I'm liking it. Sports takes over the world.
Congratulations to the National Basketball Association for beginning their season last night. We will get into the Predators a little bit later in the show. It is not going well for them at the moment. And some very interesting comments for the conversation I had with Steven Stamkos yesterday that we will get into as well a little bit later in the program. Paul Kuharsky from paulkuharsky.com will be with us in the second half of the program, and we will get into all things Tennessee Titans with him. So looking forward to that. And Joe, that's where I want to start today. I'm encouraging people. There's one debate that's raging on Titans Twitter, on NFL Twitter at large, that I would beg us to hold off on and give maybe just a little bit more time to. And that is the Jackson Dart versus Cam Ward debate, which is ongoing at the moment and in full force in some cases online. Look, Jackson Dart has looked pretty good so far for the Giants, right? I mean, he has been the starting quarterback for 4 games for the Giants. And in those 4 games, the Giants are 2-2. They had another game, I'm not going to say in the bag, but should have won against Denver this last weekend. He throws a pick at the end. They do some stupid stuff on defense. You got Brian Burns coming off the field, basically yelling about how much Shane Bowen sucks, and they're dropping 8 and all these things. So not good in Giants land right now. At the end of that game, apparently Brian Daboll was throwing tables and chairs at the end of the locker room. So a lot of turmoil going on with the New York Giants. But 2-2 for Jackson Dart. His numbers are decent in those 4 games. He's got a 60% completion percentage, 60.2, 791 yards passing, 7 touchdowns, 3 picks, and he's averaging 6.7 yards per attempt. And if you watch Dart play, the passing, I think, has been okay, but some of the biggest plays that he's made has come on the ground, right? His his rushing ability has been pretty good. So far, he scored 3 touchdowns so far on the ground. So it's a good start for Jackson Dart on a not very good team in New York. Meanwhile, Cam Ward, we've gone through the numbers. 1-6 as a starter, 57.6% a completion percentage, 4 touchdowns, 5 picks, 5.7 yards per attempt, 1,357 yards in 7 games. The numbers aren't that great. But again, like, how many times have we seen this, Joe? I guess is my point, where either one quarterback starts better than the other and they don't finish that way, or all these quarterbacks start really good and then only one ends up really making it in the end. Like, I think we've learned over the years, and I know it's harder now than ever because these quarterbacks are just discarded quicker than ever before. But have we not learned over the years that, just because you're comparing 2 quarterbacks against each other that were drafted in, like, at this point, a 7-game sample size, does not really mean that that's how it's going to translate for the rest of their career?
Well, that's the thing. You can have a discussion after 1 quarter of play, but yeah, to draw conclusions is insane. And some people want to do that, right? Of course, we're going to have the discussion, just like with Cam Ward. I mean, we could sit here and say, well, just wait 2 years, and then at the end of 2 years, let's say, okay, what do we think? That's not going to happen. But yeah, like, people want to go way overboard with what they've seen so far and draw conclusions, and it's just ridiculous. And look, I do like Jackson Dart. I like what I've seen. He's made some great plays. As a runner, you can see it with him. He's got arm talent. Look, he has looked really good. He has looked better than Cam Ward, in my opinion, more dynamic. Also, he absolutely has a better team around him. I mean, I understand that the Giants have been bad, but like, they've actually built up a decent roster. And yes, Cam Scattaboo, by golly, sure is part of that.
He is.
I mean, they got dudes on defense. I mean, like that is a much better team. So you have to take that into account. He has a better chance of success. There's no question. I mean, they were, of course, I guess the Titans could have won at Denver too. Denver's pretty disappointing, but they were taking it to Denver, 19-0, 26-8. And yeah, they're really, if he doesn't throw a terrible rookie pick, and that game never gets to any sort of drama late, but still, I mean, he was also a big part of them having the lead. He was a big part of them coming back and scoring, later, and then they let the defense let it back. But Robbie, you talk about the whole, like, waiting, to have a discussion. Let's take CJ Stroud, for example. Okay. Absolutely great as a rookie. Step back a little, I don't know, fire the OC. He is a second-year player. And now it's like, sound the alarms in his 3rd year, which I don't know that I can remember anything quite like that. I'm sure there's probably every outcome has probably happened. I just don't remember exactly something like this. But again, it's like, so we know what he is after his rookie year, right? We know. And I still thought that after last year. And now it's like, I don't know what the heck is going on. I mean, it's just so yeah. We're going to compare them, of course. We're always going to, until we really know what both of them are. But conclusions right now are wild.
Well, I would just say, like, I think back to Vince Young, right? Like, Vince Young at the end of his rookie year, it was that's probably
a good Stroud comparison,
like,
in a way, right?
They've made the greatest. He's going to be unbelievable. Like, he just won the offensive rookie of the year. And then the next year, it became pretty clear that it's like, man, they may have a problem here. And I mean, look, the next year they made the playoffs. He got into the playoffs. I think they lost in the first round against the Chargers, but he threw 9 touchdowns and 17 picks in his 2nd year. And it's like, man, I don't know if this guy's accurate enough to be quarterback. And by the time 2008 came around, he wasn't even really a quarterback. Like, Kerry Collins was a quarterback for most of that year. So, like, and then they ended up going 13-3 that year. So, I mean, it can change quickly in terms of how you view quarterbacks in this league. Let's head to our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Welcome in Chad to the program. Chad, good morning. Thank you for calling in.
Hey, morning. Good stuff, fellas. Hey, what's really interesting to me, and I played quarterback in a bowl game and came to this town, ended up playing music, so I had to break away from the football love and passion. But what kind of really gets to me And you see guys doing this in Madden. That's why I wanted to prefix the first part, because somebody calls you up and they start talking about Madden football. It's like automatic hang the phone up. But here's the point. You're watching the game, the Giants versus Denver. They're basically, and I watched the end of it, and I got like 98% of this right, I think. They're first and goal on the 2-yard line with 38 seconds left, and I think Denver may have 1 or 2 timeouts. You quarterback sneak it, and Jackson Dart gets down before he scores, to the point that nobody even really knows what he's doing, because he's quarterback sneaking it, and he's making sure his knee and the ball is down. Now you're on the 2-yard line. You'd like to get him maybe to the 1 or to the half-inch yard line, but you don't score the football. You don't score the football when you know the trend, and leave them with 38 seconds, because I guarantee you 2 forward passes, and nowadays with the live ball, a kicker's going to kick the ball, you're going to lose the game. You can almost sit there like clockwork and say, you score the football here, you're going to lose. Like, you're going to lose. And they score the football and they lose. And it's like, what is going on? And then, then you're talking about the ball goes in there and starts throwing chairs. And it's like, dude, you're a meathead. Because the formula was you quarterback sneak it, Jackson Dart puts the ball on the half-yard line. Denver may have to call a timeout. You know what you do? You do it a second time until you get your point, and then you run them. You leave them no time, and at least you do that. And you run them dry on timeouts, or you run the ball down to 10 seconds, and then you're 3rd down and goal on the half-inch, and we score the ball on the quarterback sneak. But this happens over and over and over, and it kind of drives me crazy. So
I can tell. Thank you, Chad. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I mean, I hear what he's saying, but then you get to the scenario where then they stuff you.
Right.
So yes, I certainly, as soon as he scored, I'm like, too much time. But it's also like, I mean, it's not like you can just completely dictate, if the other team has their timeouts, that you can completely dictate that situation. Obviously it's you got like the scenario where teams will let the other team score, but that's not this scenario. Not when they're ahead. Like up 1 or whatever, or, even like LSU, Vandy, they weren't letting them score, but I'm saying Vandy did the smart thing. Pavi did the smart thing, gets down, forget about it. You're probably going to win by 2 touchdowns if you score there, but you also give them some chance of coming back. I mean, this is, I hear what he's saying, but like if you're behind, you have to try to score a touchdown however you can score a touchdown.
Well, he hit on something else, too, that the NFL is going to have to take a look at the end of the year. The K-ball stuff and what they've done with the K-ball, and like how people, like kickers, are just routinely nailing 62-yard field goals now in the NFL. It's like, all right, do we need to make it that easy with the football to kick the ball? I mean, I know kickers are good and they're getting better. They're not that good. It's ridiculous, some of the kicks that are going through this year.
I'm just excited how many times we've been able to say K-ball on our show this year. It's a great yeah. Like, are these K-balls? Are they like the little Nerf football you used to have that had like the thing
like
behind it,
the
like
bat?
Yeah, like little Nerf, but it had like the propeller behind it.
Yeah.
You can throw it like 200 yards. That's what the K-ball is. They just paint it brown.
Maybe so.
We need to investigate.
Kuharsky, get on it. 615-737-1025, our phone number, 615-737-1025. We'll continue the discussion on Ward versus Dart, plus another Titan that I'm watching and I'm wondering, good grief, how concerned should we be? We'll get into that. Robby and Rexrode, 1025, The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. Taking your thoughts on our phone and text lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. 615-737-1025, our phone number. 615-737-1025. We will, people are asking, we will get into the Predators coming up later this hour at 6:45 because I've got some thoughts on the Nashville Predators. We will get into that a little bit later in the show. John from Nashville on the Ward and Dart conversation says, at this moment in time, I'd choose Jackson Dart over Ward. Dart's just going out there and playing football, not overthinking things, not afraid to risk taking a big shot. It looks like he's relaxed, enjoying himself playing football. Ward, on the other hand, seems to be overthinking everything and second-guessing himself, almost like we witnessed with Will Levis. Now, look, I've not watched, Joe, every snap of Jackson Dart. I've seen, obviously they've had some nationally televised games. I've seen the highlights. I've seen Jackson Dart. He looks good to this point. Again, a lot of the plays that he's made have also come by him just running and running the ball and using his legs that way, which is fine. I mean, it's being a dual threat quarterback is a good thing. The most amazing part is he's looked as comfortable as he has, and Malik Neighbors really hasn't been part of it, right? I mean, that's kind of the most amazing thing if you're the Giants is you start to allow the mind to wander a little bit of what could it look like if Neighbors was out there and healthy.
Yeah, he looks good, but it's not like consistently like the highlights he make. There are some highlight plays. I mean, I kind of agree with what John's saying about just going out there and playing football. But again, I don't know if it's overthinking or if it's like, where's the pressure coming from here? And I'm not saying that as a quarterback, like you can't do that, right? But I don't know that it's Cam overthinking everything, all that, or if it's just that he's I think he's thinking about pressure.
Yeah,
maybe sometimes that again. I'm not saying the Giants have the greatest offensive line in the league, but they don't have the same issues the Titans do. Like they actually have a pretty decent situation. Not great, but decent. And decent is not what Cam has. It's not. So I'm not trying to excuse Cam or anything. Like if you right now, who would you take, Jackson Dart or Cam? Well, I'd probably take Jackson Dart, but it's one of those things where it's like, ask me in a month.
Yeah.
I don't know. Ask me next year. Ask me 2 years after that. I don't know. I mean, I have no idea if either of them is going to end up amounting to much at all in this league. Well, I guess at this point, I just expect everybody to be better at their second team.
Oh, the conversation changes on these young quarterbacks all the time, guys. Jaden Daniels was clearly the guy in last year's draft at the end of last year, right? And maybe he still is. But you know what? I bet if you asked a lot of people, 7 games into this year, some of those people probably changed their answer to Drake May, right? Like the answer changes a lot when you're talking about these young quarterbacks. Now, speaking of young players, there's somebody else that I want to touch on real quick because I guess I'm wondering how much of what we're seeing is due to an injury that this player sustained that he's coming back from, and how much of it is legitimate concern about the player that he is. And I'm talking about J.C. Latham. Not very good again from J.C. Latham on Sunday against the Patriots. I would encourage people to check out PaulKuharsky.com. Blake Bedingfield does, his scouting reports and does a, really good job of summing up what he sees. I'm just going to read a brief snippet from PaulKuharsky.com of what Blake Bedingfield had to say on Latham. He said, he's talking about Latham and Moore to start, the 2 tackles for the Titans. Says they're both beaten on simple one-on-one rushes. Moore was beaten to his outside, which is his weak spot as a pass protector. He's so cognizant of protecting his inside gap that he's a late reactor to the speed outside rush. Latham struggles with inside pressure, going all the way back to college. Sunday, he missed Milton Williams on an inside rush for an easy sack. Latham's issues are his footwork at times. Look at his inside foot in the picture below, and it's, if you can check that out at paulkuharsky.com, it does a good job of illustrating it, where he's the second player from the left. He'll step incorrectly or not step at all and rely on his length and strength to lock out a defender rushing his inside gap. Latham also had a big holding penalty on the Titans' 3rd drive of the game, putting the offense behind the sticks when they're already driving and in field goal range, and the result of that drive ended up being a punt. So if you look at Bedingfield's evaluation, Joe, if you want to look at the PFF grade, it wasn't good either for Latham on Sunday against the Patriots. And I realize, he's still a couple of games removed of coming back from a hip injury, right? So, the first time they threw him out there coming off the hip injury was against Max Crosby. That is not an easy task. But yet again, another game where he wasn't very good. So I guess my question, Joe, is when you're looking at Latham, how much is it, well, he's coming off the hip injury. You got to give him some time. You got to give him some grace. And how much of it is looking at it and say, man, I think that there's room for legitimate concern here about the player that he is as a tackle.
Yeah, it's a good question. I'm not sure. I think it just depends on when you say concern. Like, I do feel like I still feel like he's going to end up being solid, like not a huge problem. And maybe I'm being optimistic with that, but it's like I did watch him specifically quite a lot. And there are definitely good things on film too. And then there's some really bad things. I mean, look, you go to Bedingfield and he's when he boils it down, his positives are Cedric Gray, DK, and Skronsky. His negatives are Sneed, Cam Ward, JC Latham, and Dan Moore. That's not great. Your top corner, your quarterback, and both tackles. Because Dan Moore is also just the man door is still not locked and secured enough. But
it's off the hinges.
Yeah, there you go. Is it like one of the little doggy doors?
Man doors on the ground.
Yeah. Here's another thing with Latham. I don't know. I think he's going to be fine, but fine is again not what you drafted. You drafted number 7 to be, to be a great left tackle, and now you hope he's a fine right tackle. It is early. There is the hip. You have to take that into account. You have to. And I don't know. I don't know if I wouldn't be surprised, knowing what I know of him, if he is out there saying, damn it, I got to play, and maybe he shouldn't be. Maybe not. They did give him time, but I'm just saying, I think he is that kind of guy. But is he all going to come together for him? Is he going to be really good? You should have concern about him ever living up to the number 7 draft positioning for sure. It's just like that is lofty, and already been ups and downs in a position switch and all this. And look, people may have celebrated, the Callahans being run out of town. And I understand that Bill Callahan did not come in here and go magic wand, boom, this offensive line's amazing. But is it good for JC Latham that Bill Callahan's no longer here working with him on a daily basis? I'm going to guess, based on decades of evidence, that's probably not ideal for him to not have Bill Callahan here working with him on a daily basis.
Well, and on the hip front, I think you do have to factor it in, right? He's coming off a hip injury, and we talked about it at the time, like when it happened. When it's a hip injury with an offensive lineman and specifically a tackle, that's a problem. Like it could end up being a problem all year. However, having said that, if you're good enough to go play, if you're putting yourself out there on the field, there's only a limited amount of sympathy I've got for that, right?
That's fair, yeah.
And I don't want to be if he's struggling 3 weeks from now, I'm not going to be all that interested in talking about the hip. You're either healthy enough to play or you're not, right? So, the first couple of games, I'm willing to give a little bit of grace, right? You're coming off the hip injury, particularly the first game, right? It's Max Crosby out there. So everybody knows that means Latham could be completely healthy and looking good, and Max Crosby is a tough matchup. So we all understand that. But, as the next couple of weeks come up here, I'm going to have less and less patience for the hip stuff. You need to look like you got a clue at what's going on at right tackle out there. 615-737-1025, our phone number. We'll continue this discussion coming up next. Are you concerned with JC Latham? How do you feel about what you've seen from the Titans right tackle? We'll get into that. We'll get into the Preds coming up at 6:45, who dropped one last night to the Anaheim Ducks, and I had an interesting conversation with Steven Stamkos yesterday. We'll get into all that ahead. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. Preds fans, Smashville Live tonight at Brewhouse 100 in Bellevue at 6 o'clock. See your Preds star players up close and personal. Get your chance for autographs and pictures. Tonight's guests, Adam Wilsby and Tyson Jost, who scored a goal last night for the Predators. That's tonight at Brewhouse 100 in Bellevue and only on 102.5 The Game. Taking your thoughts on our phone and text lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025. What's your concern level with J.C. Latham? Now, some points being made from multiple people about Skaronski, right? So Skaronski has the appendectomy his rookie year, was healthy last year. He played in all 17 games last year. And in the early part of the year, he looked pretty bad, right? I mean, it's not very good from Peter Skaronski in the early part of last year. But as we've discussed, like through the year, by the end of the year, I thought he made a lot of progress. And now, Joe, I mean, he's probably their best offensive player, I would say. Like, he's pretty good out there. Now, is he an all-pro? Is he, a guard that you look at him like, whoa, that guy's just going to be borderline Hall of Fame? I wouldn't say that, but he's good. He's turned into a good player, good starter for the Tennessee Titans. So, probably not worthy of the number 11 overall pick, but, I guess you take it at this point. Ed on the text line says, I think the bar is way too high based on previous drafts. At this point, I'll take Latham as a starter as a win. That's way more than previous first-round picks. And look, I understand where that's coming from because, boy, they had some bad draft picks around here. But I guess my point on that is, like, if just being a starter for the 7th overall pick is a win, it's going to take this team forever to be relevant again. I mean, forever. So, like, that's why, I've been consistent on this. J.C. Latham, by the end of the year, you need to look at and feel like you've got a stud at right tackle. And we're a long way away from that. Now, let me be clear. It doesn't mean he can't get there. It doesn't mean that because he struggled in a couple of games coming off a hip injury that he's just automatically doomed to failure. But I do think he's struggled enough to the point where you have to ask the question, how much of this is the hip injury and how much of this is just where he is as a player right now?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you have to ask, and it has been disappointing. I think Ed, was being somewhat facetious there, but like to your point, like when the bar gets lowered like that for so long, man, do you need to hit some home runs at some point? Because what the Titans need for the long term, just take it to like we talk about, okay, in 2027, on opening day, like, who's going to be in the lineup? Who's okay? Right now, I'm starting to look at Cedric Gray, and I am starting to say, like, that dude I think can play. And by the way, maybe Rand got a little, got the air fryer out a little bit there on that one. Maybe, put those frozen fries in the air fryer, and all of a sudden, wow, they taste like restaurant fries. I'm just saying. However, there was a lot of bad cooking that also went on, and Latham can't be one of those. He at least needs to be a solid starter long term for you. And again, I think that's certainly possible. So I get the Skaronski, Skaronski's 1 year ahead of him, and it's worked out for him, but it doesn't mean it'll work out at all the same way for Latham. That's what you hope. You need those two guys. It's a very small group of candidates who could be like core young players who you give second contracts to, who are part of the nucleus of a team that actually starts to become competent again.
Yeah.
Latham's got to be one of those guys.
I mean, for Gray, like, what do we call that? Rand souffled? Like, is it cooking? What do we call it?
Maybe, man, a little beignet, in there. I don't know, a lot of little poached eggs. I mean, there's that it's funny because that pick was kind of picked apart a little bit. Some people just didn't. Some of the draft people didn't love him, which is why he's a 4th round pick. And then, like, remember last year, we're like, geez, and yes, he was hurt, but like it appeared that he also just was not moving the needle at all. And now look at that dude. They need more stories like that. They need a lot more stories like that.
Well, in the overall grand theme of this, I'm scared to death, and I know Titans fans are too, of getting to the end of the season and you're looking at your offensive line and you look at left tackle and it's like, well, we gave all this money to Dan Moore, and I guess he's going to have to be the left tackle again next year. But, boy, we don't feel good about it because he's not very good. And then you look at right tackle, and it's like, well, we drafted J.C. Latham 7th overall, and he had some injury problems throughout the year, and he never quite found himself. Like, maybe by the time the end of the year comes, if it doesn't get significantly better, We talk about the injury and how it derailed him, but it's not a good thing for the Titans if you're looking at both your tackle spots after how much we have looked and analyzed and talked about freaking tackle with this team. If you get to the end of this season, Joe, and you're looking at your left tackle and you're like, whoa, that's not good. And you're looking at your right tackle and you're like, whoa, I'm not sure. I mean, that is just a horrific spot to be in with a team that already has a laundry list of needs that feels like it grows by the day.
Right. Like, as much as you would love to upgrade, as we've discussed a million times, you upgrade those spots in the draft and only in the draft. That's just what it is. Yeah, they signed Dan Moore, but you're not doing that again. And you hope that Dan Moore is, I think, a slightly sub-average tackle, which isn't good, but also, again, when going back to Ed's point about the bar, it was so low. He is an improvement, right? Like, he's an improvement with the last two guys, but it's not great. So you have to address that, but it's like you have so many other issues. If you could at least feel okay about tackle, but then it's also like, well, if Cam Ward is the key to everything, and he's what everything's about, and he's the number one pick quarterback. Don't you just have to find a way to be better at offensive tackle? It's a pickle. I mean, they really need. I mean, Moore, I think, is what he is, and I think you can live with that. But they need Latham to blossom, and by the end of this year, have like this is like Skoronski last year. I mean, hey, I get why fans would be talking about that. You hope it's like that. It's just that right now it looks pretty far away from that.
Well, and by the way, like, the other factor in all this that we've not talked about, but it's a very Titans luck type of thing. Like, it seems pretty obvious that Kevin Zeitler has dropped off pretty dramatically, from what he was with the Lions.
Yep. Another example of free agency just often doesn't do you well at O-line. But yeah, he looks close to cashed.
Yeah, I mean, he's been playing in the league forever. So, like, at some point, that moment comes where the downturn starts to happen. And unfortunately for the Titans, it looks like it's happening right now. Like, the right side of the offensive line at the moment is a problem. Like, I think Cushenberry has been very up and down this year. Like, Skoronski, I feel good about. Like, Skoronski's the one guy on the offensive line, which, again, is disappointing. Like, you look at the offensive line heading into the year, and you're like, okay, well, you signed Dan Moore, and maybe you don't feel great about him, but at least it's an upgrade over what you had. Skoronski closed the season off well last year. Cushenberry getting healthy coming off the injury. Zeitler's played really good football for a long time in this league. And Latham is back at his natural spot at right tackle where he was really good in college. So you felt like things were going to get way better on the offensive line on paper heading into the year. And for whatever reason, and injuries have been part of it, but not all of it, whatever reason, it just hadn't played out that way. And we're having the same old tired conversation about an offensive line. It's not very good.
And it is tired. And I get of any Titans fans like, don't draft a tackle high. I get all that. But it is like, just, again, look around the league and look at the correlation between offensive line play and team quality. There are certainly some teams that the skill makes the offensive line better. That's possible. You can overcome being average and look better than average overall because of your skill. But teams with terrible offensive lines, how many of them are good? Patrick Mahomes can take, that group that they got to the Super Bowl that year, and with Reed and the skill they had and all that, but
for the most part,
and special other things. I mean, you just it's always going to be played up front, and like you said, they have one person that you feel good about moving forward. At least they need to have two, and I thought this year we would be talking about two. And then obviously Cushenberry coming off the Achilles, Zeitler, that's a disappointing outcome so far from that signing. But you need to have two, and then you got to just start adding again young players you hope can be good long term, because the other three guys here are short term hole pluggers.
Paul Kuharsky will be with us later in the program. We will get into all things Tennessee Titans with him. We'll get into the J.C. Latham discussion with him as well. We'll get into the Predators coming up next. They drop another one last night to the Anaheim Ducks. Interesting conversation I had with Steven Stamkos yesterday. You'll hear part of that. Plus, What in the world's going on with Tony Vitello? Is he going to take the job with the Giants? Is he staying with the Vols? We'll get into all that as well coming up in the next hour. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. The Preds fall last night 5-2 at the hands of the Anaheim Ducks. They have now lost 4 in a row, 0-3-1 in their last 4 games. Power play, not very good. Offense in general, not very good for the Nashville Predators. And, Joe, this is a 5-game homestand, game number 1 last night. They got some pretty darn good teams coming in. You know, Vancouver, we'll see what they end up being this year, but we know some of the players they have. They're Thursday. You got LA, you got Dallas, you got Tampa. It's a big homestand for the Predators where they got to find a way to start collecting some points. And I mentioned the offense, you know, a game again last night where you had a couple of looks, did not have very many power play opportunities. I think they had 1 power play last night, but had a couple of looks 5-on-5 and just weren't able to score, and that has been the theme throughout the year to this point. You know, I was talking with Steven Stamkos before the game yesterday morning, and we talked about a lot of different things. You know, not very happy with what's going on offensively right now. You know, the power play in particular, has got to get better. And he said some interesting things about like the frustration from last year offensively, how that's already starting to like creep in. So I asked him about like battling that mentally and what that's been like. And here is what Steven Stamkos had to say yesterday.
Yeah, no, it's tough. I mean, we have some pretty good offensive players that want to produce to help our team win, and when it's not helping, when you're not helping in that regard, it's tough. I mean, no one's going to be talking about, oh, you made a good defensive play, or you're playing well defensively. It's games that we're not winning. It's okay. We need to find a way to score some more goals. So, like I said, it's we're not a team that is going to go out and score 4 or 5 goals every night. I think we can all agree on that, right? So it's not something that we can't just open the floodgates and go, back and forth, chance for chance, and try to win games like that. That's not the identity of our team, and that's been established. And like I said, I think there's areas that we've improved on from last year defensively. Now, some other areas, like I said, being the power play, one of them that can help you win some of those tighter games, and that's what we need to focus on.
So that was Stamkos, and it wasn't just like what he said. Like there's a video out there of it. Like there's very clearly some frustration from Steven Stamkos, and I think he talked about 2-1. Like you can't just win games 2-1 all the time in the NHL. Like it's not a sustained formula to win. You're not going to win very many games that way. But he also acknowledged, like, this is not a team that's going to go out there and score 4 or 5 goals every night. Like, they're just not equipped to do it, which makes the margin for error just incredibly small with this team. And that's probably the thing that stands out the most in the early part of the season is they just don't look very threatening at all offensively. And I do think they've gotten better defensively. Last night, they were not. Last night, it got away from them, and they turned the puck over, and they gave up some easy chances to Anaheim. On the whole, I think they've improved defensively, and, Nick Hague still hasn't played yet, so we'll see what that looks like when they get back. So, again, when they get to the end of the season, Joe, I guess I'll be surprised if they're worse or as bad as they were a year ago when I think they mustered up 68 points. But they do not have enough offense. They do not have any sort of threat to them 5-on-5 that gives me any confidence whatsoever that they're going anywhere this year. And I think Stamkos, I'm not saying he's given up on the year, but offensively, I think they all know that, right? And I know, Joe, that this conversation immediately is going to lead to the coach, right? And we'll see what happens on that front. I will say this, and I'm not trying to, defend Andrew Burnett or anything, but there's a reason, I had the Predators 7th in the division this year. You didn't find a person around the league to pick them to make the playoffs. Like, there's a reason you look at their center depth on paper heading into the year, and locally we talked about how it was probably the worst in the league, and nationally it was talked about as it's probably the worst in the league. Like, there's a correlation there of why they can't score and what their center depth looks like. It's just not good, and I don't know how that's getting better anytime soon. So it's very early into the year, but it's not looking good for the Predators right now.
I mean, even just the tone, that was a very interesting comment from Stamkos, but like you said, the video, the tone, it's depressing. I mean, it's just I'm reminded of Rob Schneider, because the Preds had a couple good games early, and there's some people that were excited, and hey, we're all here for anything that would be anything other than total garbage from the local professional teams.
Yeah.
But I'm reminded of Rob Schneider. It's like you get about 70. So we're about a 10th into the season now, so it's like basically like being like somewhere into the second game of the Titan season. And it's like Rob Schneider, oh no, we suck again.
Yeah.
I don't even know what that's from, but
I think it's Waterboy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is from Waterboy. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. It's tough. Cause yes, I do. The decor is better, will be better. Hay comes back even better, and they'll be more solid. And I think it won't be the complete disaster of last year, but they don't. I mean, Stamkos, the guy is incredible career and player, and that quote, that conversation with you is a good example of what to me it's like you have to like the guy and appreciate the guy. Also, he's older. Like he has lost a few miles per hour off the fastball.
Yeah, no doubt.
And I don't think he's the only one on this roster, and that's just the sad reality of this situation. They're just not threatening. And then if your power play is going to be this bad, there's no excuse for the power play to be this bad. Right? I mean, there's no way it should be this bad. But you compound things. I guess that's your hope, is like, okay, maybe that gets rolling and you can compensate a little bit for your lack of threats in 5-on-5. But as it stands now, it's just scrounging and scraping for offense, which again, like you put these two teams together and it's like, my goodness, is this what it's going to be? Another slog till the end for both of them?
Oh, I mean, right now the Predators are 29th in the league, 2.43 goals per game offensively. They've scored 4 goals in a game twice. One of those was a win in Ottawa where they got 2 empty netters. So you scored 2 goals, 4 goals with 2 empty netters, 4 goals legitimately in Toronto. And then it's been 2 goals, 1 goal, 2 goals. That's where you've been so far this year through 7 games. And not only that, those are your offensive numbers as a whole. And you mentioned the power play. It is dead last right now in the NHL, 8.3%, which is just a horrific number. And, I said, I talked about the coach. That to me is where the coach is like, I mean, you're a power play guy. And part of the reason, not the whole reason, but part of the reason you're brought in is because you're really good on the power play. And look, I understand the Predators are not an overly talented group, and particularly at center, they don't have answers at center right now. But there's no excuse with Philip Forsberg, Roman Josi, Stamkos, and I know Marchessault's hurt right now, but Marchessault when he's healthy, there's no excuse for a power play like that to have an 8.3% conversion rate.
That's just atrocious. And look, this homestand, Robbie, which is the longest of the year. It's a loaded homestand. There are some good teams coming in here, and you had to win. You had to beat the Ducks to start it. You had to, and instead you drop a 5-2, and it just So like if it keeps going like this, the brunette conversation will obviously get louder. I'm interested. We've talked about it like with Trotz. I mean, I don't know. But again, with Trotz, I think it's like you look at him to me, and it's like, okay, so what? He had another great interview with DVD yesterday, talking about Martin. A lot of people want to know about Brady Martin and stuff like that, and one of his points was with Martin, not use him on the road. It's like you don't want to put want to lose confidence. You want to put him in bad situations, all that stuff. But one point he made is like we're trying to win. Like this league is about winning, and they're just. What was done in the offseason to make that happen? I'm not saying there were obvious answers in the offseason, but Brian's here. Why are people surprised by the farting Preds? It was copy and paste from last season. Now we're hearing the same excuses, and I understand people being frustrated like that.
Well, and again, the coaching part of this, it's still early in the year, so you have to keep that in mind. 7 games in, so look, maybe they roll off some wins here. I have no idea. But I did, I'm talking to Stamkos yesterday. I'm looking around in the room, and there's a lot of veteran guys. O'Reilly's in there, busting it like he always is. And I wonder, like, if it continues to go poorly, is there a tipping point? Like, is there a breaking point? Because, like, they've all said the right things, and they've talked about moving on from last year. But when you start losing again, like, those negative thoughts creep in, and like I wonder if you just have to shake things up dramatically this year if you bury Trotz and start selling things off. Then maybe you don't want to, but you might have to.
Yeah, you might have to, and you might have to. Look, Barry Trotz clearly hates this. He does not want to do what the Sharks do. And I don't know, like if you're a Sharks fan, you're like, I'm sick of watching our young kids get embarrassed.
Boy,
and we're never good, right? But that's the thing. That's the problem. You start getting into that, and then it's like, okay, so who's playing?
Yeah,
right?
Well, people are talking about playing Brady Martin more. Like Brady Martin needs to go back to junior.
Yeah, and he will.
And I think he's going to. I think it's been valuable that he's been up. People were freaking out that he wasn't playing on the road trip. I did not really. It didn't bother me that he wasn't playing on the road trip. I value him being around NHL guys, practicing NHL, rather than going back to a league that he should dominate. I mean, it's good for him to play and all those things, and I think that's eventually where this is headed. But if they take a little bit longer for him to get there, I don't really care. Like him being up in the NHL and playing in controlled situations and practicing with NHL guys, I think probably going to serve him pretty well in the long term. But he's like, if you watch him, he's clearly not ready to play in the NHL. I mean, it's just he's just not. He's 18. That's not a problem. He doesn't have to be.
No, people like someone texting he needs more than 10 minutes of ice time, but he's not going to get it. He's going to be in juniors, and it is like I understand this is like a tease, and fans are like, look at this team, it's terrible. Why not? But he's not ready.
No,
and so it is good for him to do this. I understand for fans, it's frustrating. He's going to be in juniors, and he'll be up at the end of the year. That's what's going to happen.
615-737-1025 is our phone number. 615-737-1025. We'll continue to take your thoughts on the Predators. Plus, what in the world's going on with Tony Vitello? Is he going to be the coach of the Vols or the coach of the Giants? We'll get into that coming up next. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. Hour number 2, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Robbie Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Ian Safar here with you on this Wednesday morning. Live from our Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios. Home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. We got some MTSU football tonight. They're taking on Delaware at 6:30. Catch all the action on Totally Hits 93.3, with coverage also available on the Totally Hits Nashville app and at TotallyHitsNashville.com. Paul Kuharsky will be with us a little bit later in the program. We'll get into all things Tennessee Titans with him. So looking forward to PK being in with us today. Joe, I do have to read this tweet from Devin, or this text from Devin from Dover. It says, I hope y'all see what it takes for Vandy to be good at football. All the other sports in Nashville have to suck to balance it out. This is all deep down. It's Clark Lee's fault. If they're going to be good at football, it just saps everything from the Titans and the Preds at the same time.
They're sucking all the positive energy out of the atmosphere. This is what matters. Although if that's the case, all right, Vandy, go win the natty then, man. I mean, it's bad enough for these local professional teams. That should be a natty, okay?
I agree.
That should at least be like the semis of the CFP. So let's go. If that's what it's going to take, then take it and run with it.
One texter says 7 games in, and Stamkos sounds like it's game 78. Trotz needs to go. Great coach, not a GM. Trotz speaks well, but action's different. I mean, Brunette and Trotz are just getting hammered on our text line right now, which is not surprising.
And I've done this before, like when Laviolette got fired. And again, totally agree. Like I heard Vingan talk about this recently. Vingan, who's still on the bleep list with those onions in the trash, but he made a good point. With Laviolette, there's a shelf life with him, right? That's pretty clear and all that stuff. But even at that point, it was like to me, it was missteps by David Poyle that were the bigger issue. So people right now screaming about Brunette, I'm not like defending him either or saying there's nothing on him, but I think that the strategy of putting this team together is a bigger issue than the coaching. Am I wrong?
I don't know that you're wrong. I think that's probably accurate. I will say that oftentimes that doesn't matter, and that the coach may end up being the one paying the price here pretty quickly.
Oh, and then especially in this league, no doubt.
Yeah, we'll see how it got. Now the Predators, they march to beat their own drum when it comes to firing coaches. So we'll see what happens on that front. And again, like we're 7 games in, they may roll off 4 in a row here to close out the homestand and figure things out. It's hard for me looking at the whole season and based on what their roster is right now at center. Like it's clear. And Stamkos basically said this yesterday. They're not going to be all that good offensively. Like they're just not. And can you really win on a consistent basis if you're just not at all really threatening offensively? It's a hard thing to do in the NHL. So we'll see if they can do it as they move forward here. And if they can just, I guess, clamp down on defense. Joe, on the Tony Vitello front, still no news as to what exactly is going on. If you followed it yesterday, I think Mike Wilson threw this out there, bringing up the Lane Kiffin Day or certainly Shiano Sunday. It wasn't really like those. Like it wasn't to the scope of that. But the Vols had a scrimmage yesterday at Lindsey Nelson Stadium, and Vitello was out there, and all these fans show up, and they're chanting his name, and he's waving to the crowd, and he's signing autographs and throwing baseballs in the crowd. He's talking about how much he loves them and all those things. And, Eric Kane, friend of the show, putting it out there last night that he had a meeting with the team after the scrimmage. And basically, Vitello has not yet come to a decision on what is happening, whether or not he's going to take the job with the Giants or whether he is going to stay put at Tennessee and be their head coach. So this is dragging on a little bit here, Joe. It's interesting. There's clearly, I think, some internal struggle going on with Vitello as to what to do moving here. So what do you make of this? Where do you think this is all heading with Tony Vitello? And what do you make of yet another coaching situation at Tennessee, albeit a different sport this time? People were on campus yesterday with signs. Like it's nuts out there in Knoxville right now.
Yeah, there's a lot of layers to this one. I'll tell you that on Saturday at the Athletic, Ken Rosenthal and Andrew Baggerly and Britt Garoli, shout out Michigan State School of Journalism, broke the story that the Vols were closing in You know, so basically, you know, that's the MLB people, right? It's that side of it that the Giants were closing in. They decided on Vitello, and I think that at that point, the expectation was it would be wrapped up pretty quickly. Then Jeff Passan comes out and says, well, it might be 24 to 72 hours. I'm like, oh, 72 hours. Okay. Well, the 72-hour mark passed yesterday. In the meantime, in these few days, Robbie, I would say that at least a couple times I've been pretty much sure that it was about to be announced. Okay. That Tony Vitello is going to the Giants. So at this point, I just have an open mind on whatever. Like, there was some talk about, you know, MLB who doesn't want this to be announced. You know, well, the days that they had postseason games, well, they didn't have one yesterday.
Nope.
So
don't have one till Friday either.
Yeah, so they got all. Here you go. You got some days here. So yeah, I mean, I think he's struggling with it. I've seen a situation like this before when I had to basically stalk Tom Izzo for about 10 days waiting to see if he was going to go to the Cleveland Cavaliers, which at that point he was hoping that he would be coaching LeBron. LeBron ended up going to Miami anyway. But anyway, like it's signs and it's people, we love you and all this stuff. And, you know, Tony talks to his team. I mean, there's San Francisco Giants accounts that are out there like, looks, you know, like Tony looks emotional as he says goodbye to his coaches, you know? And it's like, well, I don't know. Is that what he did? Because he hasn't decided. He hasn't told anybody he's decided. And then now you have, like, apparently Vols fans making fake Giants accounts. Is that right?
Yes. Insane.
So to try to so they're trying to make him look bad so the Giants will leave him alone. Is that what is that? Truly amazing.
Or I
stuff.
guess to make him think that Giants fans hate him or something. Yeah.
There you go. Okay.
Chess, not checkers.
I like it. Yeah, that's right. Look, Buster Posey, he's good friends with him, the Giants GM. But, you know, by the way, I believe that there's a bunch of Vols in the Giants organization, but Drew Gilbert is, I think, front and center here, and the reunion with him potentially, which of course I understand Vols fans don't want to hear because it's like, no, I want Tony to be my coach. I get it. But I would also say, Robbie, imagine like Drew Gilbert and Tony Vitello on the same major league team together and what that might look like. I mean, if it happens, I must say it's get your popcorn situation.
Yeah. I mean, this whole thing's weird's not the right word, but it's interesting that it's dragging out as long as it is because, you know, like I said, Saturday, it felt like it's a foregone conclusion, right? Like he was going to be the next head coach of the Giants. And, you know, we were going to talk about, you know, Tennessee, where do they go from here? I mean, my guess is if he does end up leaving, it's going to be internal the way that they go. And it probably should be internal based on what they've got there. So, you know, that's still, I guess, if I had to guess, is the most likely way this goes is that he ends up taking the Giants job. But it is interesting to me that it's taking this long. Like there's clearly some struggle. And does he at the end of this say, you know what? I've got a really good situation here. I'm very successful, obviously, at Tennessee, and this is where I want to be. I don't know. Like it's interesting to me that it's taking this long. And if you're the Giants, like, you know, if he's your guy, he's your guy. But do you have any sort of trepidation if you're the Giants of, man, like is his heart really in it if it's taking this long? I don't know. Like I'm just throwing that out there.
Yeah, no, maybe. Yeah, for sure. Like, because I think that I think the Giants did not expect people to be sitting here on October 22nd asking the question of whether Tony Vitello is taking the job or not. So does that sour them? Again, I think relationships are a part of this for sure. But yeah, and then there's always okay, what's going on? What's going on behind the scenes? What can Tennessee do? What have they tried to do? Is there anything they can do? We talked a little bit about it. Look, I do think that there are a few things. As great as things have gone for Tony Vitello, if you're a college sports coach of a sport where, you know, the sport is popular enough for players to get paid, you are dealing with 1-year free agents.
Yeah. And
dealing with 1-year free agents is exhausting for anyone, even people who win national championships. Also, Tony Vitello is at a school where, of course, no one should bat an eyelash if football gets whatever football wants. But there's 2 basketball programs. that matter to people, matter to Danny White, matter and get money. And that can absolutely cause problems. It's some of these schools, I mean, you go to like the Big East, they don't even have football programs, and they got a $20.5 million rev share. And it's like, okay, what do you need, Hoops? 12 mil? Okay, let's build a super team. There's not a infinite amount of resources here. And so that's another thing to keep in mind. Tennessee, to its credit, has a lot of good programs, but also that can be frustrating for the coaches that are scrapping for every resource they can find.
Boy, is Danny White taking some heat from certain sections of all Twitter right now. He's getting smoked out there.
But this is what, and I see that, but my question is, so what is your, like, what has he done here that's wrong?
Yeah, I don't know.
What does he need to do? Again, if you want to say, screw the Lady Vols, I don't care about Tennessee women's basketball, give them nothing, that program can go away. You can say that, but you don't speak for all Tennessee fans.
Right.
And that sport, you talk about growth right now. I mean, so like it's a tough spot for an AD. And again, I'm not sitting here saying this is as simple as, whatever. Like, you gave that program and I'm leaving. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that is a dynamic here that you can't ignore when a coach potentially looks to leave. But the biggest thing is still, and this is why I think he's going to take the job. It's the freaking San Francisco Giants, man. This has never happened. It's never happened that a college coach with no pro experience gets a MLB job. It's the San Francisco Giants. And like you said the other day, Robbie, it doesn't work out. Okay, come back to Tennessee or replace Van Horn at Arkansas, whatever. It's there for him.
615-737-1025 is our phone number. We'll take your thoughts on Tony Vitello, plus 2 college football coaches that I am convinced and consistent on that you do not dislike enough. We'll get more into that coming up next. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Robbie Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Ian Safar here with you, taking your thoughts on our phone and text lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. I got some tickets to give away, a 4-pack of tickets to AEW presents Dynamite and Collision at the Pinnacle, coming up on Wednesday, November 26th. Caller number 5 will win those tickets, 615-737-1025. Let's welcome in Mark in Nashville to the program. Mark, good morning, buddy. Thank you for calling in.
How you doing, Robby? What's up, Joe?
Doing good, buddy.
What's up, Mark?
Joe, you funny, man. I mean, you stalked Izzo for all that time. You know Izzo wasn't going to coach the Cavaliers. You know LeBron wasn't going to play for Izzo, Joe. Joe, you knew that. That's why he made the decision to go to Miami. But I'm calling to talk about Tony Vitello today, man. And, I mean, Joe, you're right with NIL and stuff and one-year free agents in college. But he's got a good job there with Tennessee, Joe. That's a top 5 program. I would hate to see him leave. I mean, he's a fiery guy. Would he be able to blend in as a manager in the National League West with the Giants? Would he get the respect of the locker room as a manager with the Giants? I mean, I know Buster Posey wants him as a head coach, as a coach and whatnot, but I kind of worry about that. But I mean, he's a good coach, man. But I mean, I don't know who would come in and take that job. That is a great job right now. It's a top 5 job. He's got a heck of a program there at Tennessee. And he is, getting good players in the portal, recruiting pretty good. So, I mean, I don't know if he'll take that job or not. I wouldn't be shocked if he did take the job. But I think, the Giants are a historical franchise in the National League, and they're on the come up. They almost made the playoffs this year in the National League West. So, yeah, he may lean toward that job, but I think that's a good job. Maybe Tennessee will give him some more money or something and keep him there. But that's going to be something to watch. But, hey, Joe, have a good day, Robby. Joe, don't be mad at me for laughing at you, man. But
Thank you,
I
Mark.
thought that was funny what you said. But I'll see y'all later, man.
Thank you, Mark. Appreciate it.
All right.
The money part of it is interesting. Also his style to 162 game regular season. That's probably more interesting than anything. I have no doubt, especially early, that like if he became a Major League Baseball manager, like he could win over the locker room pretty quickly. Like I'm not really worried about that. But his style and going from college to MLB, which is totally different. Like it's completely different. How does that translate to Major League Baseball and the way that he manages, how fiery he is? Like, is he going to get ejected from a game 45 times a year in Major League Baseball? What's that going to look like?
Oh, it's amazing. No, it's a fascinating. I mean, look, I've thought about this. It's like, I mean, he could be, if he has success, he could be like a Billy Martin kind of, personality in MLB. MLB could use some personality, but yes, I mean, the intensity on every pitch that he thinks is missed. I mean, you can't do that for 162 games. Abel on the YouTube chat is just really struggling with this argument, with the whole, all the other SEC schools are dealing with the same thing. No, they're not. They don't all have 4 sports at this level that demand this. Georgia does not have any of those programs.
He's got one sport.
It's not the same thing as Tennessee. Now, most of them, yeah, they have multiple sports. They have, sure, but 4 at the level of Tennessee, it's actually, that's the exception more than the norm in the SEC. Go through the schools, go through baseball, both basketballs, and obviously everybody has to have football. You will not find many schools that are the same as Tennessee. Then he's like, oh, so every coach should give up because of NIL recruiting. I didn't say that. I didn't say that at all. What I'm saying is, when you look at this whole situation, this is part of it. Now he says Tennessee doesn't have a money issue. Listen, man, you can say that all you want, but the bottom line is every AD out there is like, hey, a carte blanche for all of you. Carte blanche, here we go. You got all the – no, bull crap. And I understand it's like we can clown in these schools for like, oh, we don't have enough money, and then they fire a coach with a $50 million buyout. No question. I mean, there's hypocrisy involved, but we also do compartmentalize things. And the bottom line is, no, there's not an infinite – resources are not infinite here, okay? And so, yes, when you have this many programs, you can run into issues. We will hear about it a whole bunch more. I've heard about it at Auburn too, which is coach of this program and coach B of this program at the same school saying that's BS. Now I'm screwed and I can't get this player because you let that coach get that player. It is a real thing. So you can, sit there and pretend it's not. I'm telling you it's a real thing. It doesn't mean every coach gives up. It is a part of the story with Tony Vitello.
I do want to get to this. So, as
Long
we know,
fuse.
College game day coming to town this weekend for Vanderbilt, Missouri. And I guess Missouri is just going to start leaning into the disrespect card. Here's what Missouri head coach Eli Drinkwitz had to say at his media availability.
College game day is coming to a Mizzou game for the first time in 11 years. They've only covered Mizzou 6 times. I'm curious, does that amplify the stage itself at all? Or does that change anything in preparation or make the game even bigger?
Is it in First Bank Stadium?
I'm not sure where it is this week.
Doesn't affect anything then for us. We're the road team. So we'll show up. We'll go to the visitors' locker room. We'll walk out on the field and play the game. Whatever else they got for their fans there is up to them, but it doesn't affect us. I don't even think they want to talk to us.
I don't think College game day wants to talk to us at all. I don't think anybody wants to talk to good old Missouri Tigers out there. Between him and Beamer whining like a baby after the game this week in the post-game press conference, I can't stand those two. I've been yelling about those two for years. You don't hate them enough. I'm telling you. You do not hate Eli Drinkwitz and Shane Beamer enough.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, Vanderbilt wins by 95 points on Saturday. They won't even talk to us. I don't even think they know Missouri's got a program out there. I don't even know what to do.
Oh, God, it's amazing.
Idiot.
It's fantastic. The problem is, again, between these two coaches that you just absolutely love, is this one's actually a pretty good coach, so that's the thing. His team actually has a chance to come out and back that up. But yeah, that's very annoying and hilarious. I hope game day, they'll interview him, right? Don't they almost always talk to the visiting coach?
God, I hope they don't. That'd be awesome.
Well, then if they don't, he wins. Oh my goodness!
By the way, can you just think about the world we're living in real quick? Trying to play the disrespect card against Vanderbilt. That's what we're talking about right now.
What a world
Vanderbilt.
we live in.
Nobody wants to talk to us. It's Vanderbilt. Okay. Whatever you say, Eli.
Hey, to be fair, Vanderbilt is kind of like the darling of sports right now.
That's what happens when you win.
Again, that's right. That's right. People are trying to come up with these programs. Yeah, Florida. Well, Florida women's basketball compared to Tennessee women's basketball. Has Florida ever won in women's basketball?
Honestly, the one that could end up being pretty close to all this right now with how things are going, Vanderbilt, right? Like Vanderbilt, good football, maybe the best women's basketball player in America. You got Byington, who was really good his first year, and we know what Tim Corbin is. And it's pretty good right there for Vanderbilt.
Yeah, and by the way, it's a little bit of reading between the lines here, but like Mark Byington, some of the stuff he said at SEC Media Day, it sounded like someone who's a little concerned that they're going to have enough money. It didn't come out and flat out say that, but this is what it is with coaches. And it's weird to think about, but it's like, I think there might be something to when you're looking at jobs. Okay, how many programs do they actually fully fund to be competitive at the highest level of that particular sport? And if it's 3 others, and again, football should never get screwed on this, and I don't think football does. In the SEC, I don't think so. But if there's 3 others that are fighting for the scraps, that's a lot on an AD and an athletic department and a booster group and all that. I understand it's already amazing amounts of money that these people spend, but they really do at times say, actually, no, I don't want to give you money for that. It does happen.
615-737-1025, our phone number. Back into the Titans coming up next. We got the Rex Rant with Joe Rexrode later this hour. Paul Kuharsky will be with us from paulkuharsky.com. We'll get into all things Tennessee Titans with him. All that ahead, Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. Vandy fans, it's time to party. Commodores are ranked in the top 10. College game day coming to Nashville. And to celebrate, we will be broadcasting live this Friday from noon to 6 on 102.5 The Game at the new Party Foul near Vanderbilt in Midtown at 2031 Broadway. Plus, we'll be giving away a pair of tickets to the sold-out game against Missouri coming up this Saturday. Come on out to the all-new Party Foul in Midtown this Friday from noon to 6. Robbie Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Ian Safar, Paul Kuharsky from paulkuharsky.com is with us here on the program. PK, good morning. How are you?
Boys. Joe, is there no light where you are? It's in the year 2000.
Ooh, I like that one. We've had a lot of Blair Witch Project jokes. Well, it's somewhat. Actually, I'm starting to see a little bit of the room behind me come into, but it's very dark and dreary outside. So you just have to deal with the glow of my face and the milky richness of my voice.
It's just an odd thing. Like most people have light available where they are.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, I think you should just move on and not worry about it. I mean, you bitch about enough stuff in your life. Maybe you should pick one thing and say, you know what, today I'm not going to bitch about this.
Well, this is not that thing.
Let's try to do that with your life.
This is not that
long
thing
fuse lasted about 40 seconds.
It's alarming. It's alarming to see your gouty face just like standing out and it dark all around. And I want to protect the listeners.
Okay.
The listeners
here,
are my concern.
How about this? Is this better? How about just nothing?
Yeah,
it's just,
nothing would be fine. I think we could all agree. Given a choice between that and nothing, we'd take nothing. Good morning, Joe. Good to
we'll
see
do
you.
this then.
Are you on secret assignment?
I guess. Yeah, I mean, I'm on assignment.
Great.
Lots of things going on.
A lot of stuff happening out there. PK, what's the Mike McCoy experience been like so far through about a little bit over a week at this point?
I've been advised to I've had some conversations about giving him through this week, that maybe there'll be an attempt at some new media friendliness later in the week. So I've pledged to kind of do that, but if that doesn't happen, I'm out. How about that?
Wait, translate both things for us.
I mean, he basically
right,
on Friday there was a unified media attempt to be friendly and open relations, and it was kind of rebuffed.
It's been the press conference has been a little different the last week and a half. Not that ultimately matters at the end of all of it, because there's nothing. Head coach at some point. But
there's nothing of interest there.
Yeah, not a whole lot going on in the press conferences.
He definitely does not agree. He does not agree that effort's ever a problem.
No, he does not.
No coach ever agrees that effort is a problem. That would be extreme. But in terms of saying anything interesting or sharing any information, so far he scores on a scale of 1 to 0 to 10. Probably a solid 0.
I think
so. You're missing Cali, is what you're telling us.
The biggest thing that stands out to me so far about Mike McCoy was what I saw at the end of the first half on Sunday, and it was like, wow, that guy doesn't trust his offense at all, and I guess he doesn't trust his defense at all either. It's just like, let's just try like mad to get out of here and get into halftime.
It should be fine. I mean, it's not fine because there's no reason for this team to act as conservatively as it does, but at least say, like, hey, I wanted to get in there with the 4-point margin and take it from there. But to say like, oh, the wind, and there's so many factors. What were the factors? Well, there were factors. There were a lot of factors, and the wind, which we kicked into from 50 yards about 8 minutes earlier.
Yeah. Just rough stuff. So let's start there on the Cam Ward front. What did you make of his game? Because stat-wise, overall, wasn't bad Sunday. And then you had a couple turnovers that obviously taint that a little bit.
Yeah, the two major mistakes were killer. It can't just go around dropping the ball with the regularity he has in the last 2 games. It's ridiculous. It's amateurish. And then these throws behind guys are going to cause problems. And it clearly caused a problem when he threw behind Chig and it goes off his hands. people like to say, if you can get your hands on it, you can catch it. It takes a certain amount of acrobatics for a guy to, I think it's impressive that Chig could reach back and get that. The ball's just too far behind him for him to be able to do anything with.
Yep.
So those two plays turn into catastrophes, and that's that. I don't like to do carve outs, and say, well, besides that, but he had a good game from a passer rating standpoint, from a yardage standpoint, from a best passer rating he's had, second best yardage he's had, best yards per attempt he's had.
Completion percentage, best one he's had.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, we're looking for incremental growth from him. Still some dumb stuff, but certainly the sort of incremental growth that I'm looking for in terms of the Cam Ward curve. So I found it to be rather encouraging. I rode out of the game. Now, look, I know he's not Drake May, and his rookie year is right now and trending towards being worse than Drake May's. But Drake May had a pretty unsatisfying rookie year. Second year gets into a much better coaching situation and is playing really, really well. I think you can look at Cam Ward and hope for a similar track. Do you have faith that the Titans are going to get him a Mike Vrabel, Josh McDaniels type pairing? Probably, at best a B level of that. But, I could see him following a similar track as not as good of a quarterback, but, a lesser level of that is completely possible. There's these people who have declared it's time to have a discussion about Cam Ward 7 games in. They're doing very well on the clicks front and on the ratings front, but on the sensibility front, they're scoring about as well as Mike McCoy with the media.
Okay, there's a lot to unpack there. First of all, discussion is what's wrong with the discussion? I don't know if I can't tell here if
they've declared it's time. Like after 7 games, it's now time to have a discussion about. Well, Andrew Rising, for one, it's time for the Cam Ward discussion. Tune in.
That's what he's saying.
Well,
that's what he's saying. Like
it
he's
certainly
out.
Seems
he's out on Cam.
It certainly.
Well, why don't you ask him? You're just gonna guess.
I'm tracking what's on social media. I'm not being
you
a
actually,
media reporter right now.
You're in the same room as him all the time. Why don't you ask him if that's what he means? A discussion is fine.
He's not at the Titans as often as you said. Not a discussion, the discussion. Like bust or not a bust. There's a lot of bust or not a bust. Not merely him. A lot of bust or not a bust conversations going on right now. And Joe, that's ridiculous to have a bust, not a bust conversation 7 games into a rookie's career.
If that's what he means, I agree. I didn't take it that way. Also, are you basically telling us that the Titans' best hope is that they can be the Walmart Patriots? It's like, you got B level of this coach and B level of this OC with this B level quarterback, and
Well, I don't think Cam Ward's going to be.
Is the ceiling 8 and 9?
No, but I don't think Cam Ward. I don't think Cam Ward's going to be your number 1 quarterback in the way that Joe Burrow was the number 1 pick in the draft. Do you?
No.
Okay. Well, that's what I'm saying. My hope is that Cam Ward is a
you just laid out a very depressing picture there.
A good foundational quarterback for the franchise who can be, maybe the 8th, probably the 12th best quarterback in the league. He's not going to be in the conversation with Mahomes and Allen and Burrow and those guys. So in that level,
12th would be amazing.
Right.
I mean, that would be fantastic.
So you just were shooting me down for saying Walmart version.
Well, no, but you said, you went through the entire Patriots and you're like, well, you can do a B level of this and this and this.
Well, do you think they're getting a Vrabel, Josh McDaniels level coach and coordinator here?
Do you think it's impossible to get a coach as good or better than Vrabel?
I think that they'll have a hard time getting a coach who comes in and has 5-2 record 7 games into next season. Yes.
So basically we wind back around to your head still up Vrabel's ass. Good to know.
It's not a Vrabel thing. It's a record thing. Do you think the Titans have a chance of being 5-2 7 games into next season? Yes or no?
Oh, I'll answer no, man. Who knows? Okay. Well, I'll answer that this league.
Well, whose head, whose ass are you? Is your head up then? Because
Good
given a
question.
choice
Did you
between
construct that sentence correctly?
I think you did.
whose ass is your head up then? Because if you're
Up
accusing me of
whose
being up
ass is
Vrabel's,
your head? I think it's up whose ass is your head. I think.
you can debate that to deflect, but the question is, if you're going to
Come on,
choose
Mr. Ivy
belief, if you're going to choose belief in Vrabel based on what he's doing, or belief in the Titans getting a coach and a coordinator who could get the Titans where Vrabel is right now, I'll take Vrabel in that every time, and you can accuse me of whatever you want. And silence.
Are you sad that they didn't do a feature on you like they did on Teresa? Just admit it to us.
Well, the Rex rant with Joe
No, my
Rexrode.
feature would have come before that when I asked the first question and actually had a question.
We'll have the Rex rant with Joe Rexrode coming up next. Paul Kuharsky with us for the rest of the program. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game.
Sometimes he wakes up on the wrong side of the bed. And sometimes he's just, well, Joe.
Awkward moment. Let's do it.
This is the Rex Rant. Now on Robby and Rexrode.
102.5 The Game. You come for sports takes, you stay for gout updates.
Congenital heart disease, more like congenital heart disease. Sailor also from San Francisco now.
Sail away? Robert Saleh?
I think Stone Temple Pilots, and I promise I don't do drugs, but, that was my first rock concert right there.
Put that in your pipe and smoke it.
The team is not for sale. It's never been for sale. The team is not for sale.
Whose ass are you? Is your head up then?
We ass, we in. We love, we ass.
It is time for the Rex Rant. Brought to you by Functional Medicine of Tennessee. Rise up to better health. Check them out at functionalmedicineoftennessee.net.
Whose ass is your head up then? Which is what I said, which is fine.
You nailed it.
I stumbled early and then I got it.
No. You're ending with a preposition.
Yeah,
dummy.
we end
You
with
can't do
prepositions
that.
all the time. The King's English is not featured on 102.5 The Game.
Why don't you have a little
Do you never
self-respect?
end sentences?
Have
I'm
a
going
little
to start. I'm going to
self-respect.
start listening and notching the sentences you end with prepositions here.
I do not end sentences with prepositions.
I'm
So
loving the start of
You listen
this
all
segment.
you want, buddy.
All right.
Now listen,
Joe-
Kuharsky says he's taking the rant, but real
Okay.
quick before you take over, PK, I just want my quick rant is, and I haven't heard
Do you
it.
have
but
one? Or
apparently
you do not have one. You
Shut up.
texted
Just
me
shut
begging
up.
for a rant.
I wanted to give you an opportunity. You're an angry man. So listen, I just want to say I haven't heard this, but apparently you and Stilly had this big argument about whose name is first. The show is
wasn't a
Stilly and
big
Paulie.
argument.
I came up with the show. It's my idea.
You came
It's
up with
my
the
show.
show. Yeah.
I run this show. It's Stilly and Paulie, and that's it.
He
Over.
runs the show. If
Goodbye.
you gave Joe a StreamYard to put something together to put out a podcast,
There's no way to get out.
I mean, he'd call in Glennon for technical assistance, which is really saying something. A guy with a computer that's falling apart, where you have to tape the hinges together.
Is Trey Avery on the show?
Yeah.
Trey?
Have you checked the rabbit ears? That there is potential in the rabbit ears.
We did not have a big debate. We had a small conversation at the end, and he used you as his major point of support to have his name first. I don't know. You put the big gun at
He's
the
right.
end. You put the big gun at the end, so that's fine. It does.
There we go.
It
Fine.
does probably sound better. All right. Joe has no rant and doesn't want to earn his money today, so I will take over the rant. The Dodgers are crushing it, and it's become very it's a new fad. I've seen this everywhere, that people are not holding the Dodgers in contempt for spending so much money. They're saying, well, if these other teams had spent money, if the Angels had just stepped up and paid Shohei Ohtani, then the Dodgers wouldn't build this dynasty. If the Red Sox hadn't been idiots with Mookie Betts and just paid him, then the Dodgers wouldn't have this dynasty, and on and on and on and on. Just apologies for the Dodgers spending money, which is great logic that has never in history been applied to the New York Yankees. If the New York Yankees spend a lot of money and win, oh, the evil empire, and look at how they're spending money, yada, yada, yada. But now that the Dodgers do it, the laid-back Dodgers in the Santa Ana wins and all of this stuff, it's everybody else's fault for not spending. This approach has never, ever in the history of mankind been applied to the Yankees when the Yankees were big spenders.
It's true.
Everyone saved it their whole lives and now is applying it to the Dodgers. This is unbelievable. If it was the Red Sox even, who I hate, and they've taken their turns at the top of the spending. If the choking Mets, who also spend billions of dollars, just don't know how to win with it, had taken their turn, this wouldn't apply. But somehow the Dodgers have this protective bubble. I'm not saying the logic is wrong. I'm saying it's just never used for anybody but the Dodgers. They have this special insulation, and I don't understand it. It's a magical formula. God bless them for everybody now putting the blame on everyone else for not spending money instead of putting the blame on the Dodgers for spending so much money. But it's a miracle. I don't know how they did it. Congratulations to them. On top of winning and being fantastic and having this lineup, they now have bought themselves, with all of this money, insulation from being the team that outspends everybody. Bravo to the Dodgers.
It is amazing how it's worked out that way. I mean, look, the Dodgers have a fall guy, right? Like, just blame everything on Ohtani's interpreter. That's what he did. Ohtani's interpreter, all that stuff. I mean, they just spent a lot of money. Yeah, I think when Dave Roberts asked about like the idea of buying championships last week, and he kind of like sidestepped the question. He's like, "Yeah, the expectation around here is to win. The expectation is to win." It is amazing, though. I mean, go look at their payroll and go look at like the Miami Marlins payroll. It's wild.
It's a broken sport in terms of the finances, and they can't. They're not very good at fixing things.
Do you want a cap? Salary cap in baseball?
So what's the answer?
I don't know what the answer is. I'm not an economist. I'm very bad with numbers, but they need to
But
do
great with words.
something. Yeah. Better with words than with numbers. I would argue confidently.
Big Blue Jays fan
why
coming
not
up.
a cap? Why not a cap?
Well, the cap would have to be high enough to account for. I think some teams would have trouble reaching the cap. I mean, I think some of these teams, quite frankly, need to be sold to people who are more entrepreneurial and willing to spend money, and you can't force people to sell, as we know. But like, if your team's gonna trade Skubal instead of paying him, that's a bad thing for baseball.
I agree. I mean, yeah, Pittsburgh is exhibit A of why the system is broken.
Yeah, and they've got a phenomenal park. They've got a phenomenal park. They've got a phenomenal fan base, and there's no reason there shouldn't be a system that allows them to compete. Given their player pool.
Don't get me started on Chris Illich's cheapness.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the people that this complaint is talking about.
So heavily anti-Dodgers here on the program. Everybody's rooting against the Dodgers. Is there anybody out there rooting for the Dodgers? It's not just like a Dodgers fan, like because it's Toronto. The
thing is that the team is actually likable. On
they are like
Yankees ever. Like they all suck. And I hate all of them.
The mid-90s,
for whatever reason, that
Yankees were likable. You hated Hideki Matsui,
Andy Pettitte.
I mean, yeah. Oh, Andy Pettitte, get out of here.
That's what I'm saying.
Bernie Williams, so hateable.
Those guys.
The way he would hit some clutch home runs and play the guitar in his locker peacefully.
Jorge Posada.
God, yeah. Posada with this kid who had head fractures.
Yeah. Rivera.
Terrible.
Oh, yeah. Oh, so tell us all the. Oh, great. Yeah.
I mean, these guys are not hateable guys. They weren't. Scott Brocious, just hitting, game-winning home runs of the World Series and going about his business. They were the least hateable Yankees of all time. Don Mattingly was not on any of those teams. He didn't win a World Series. He's going to win one now with Toronto.
He represents Yankee players of all time with his stupid mustache.
There we go. 615-737-1025, our phone number. Paul with us the rest of the show. We got a lot of things on the Titans front to get into. We'll take your questions as well on our text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game.
Stand back. There's a hurricane coming through.
Paul Kuharsky from paulkuharsky.com with us for the next hour, talking all things Tennessee Titans, brought to you by Jimmy Kelly's Steakhouse and Seal Master. You can check out his work at paulkuharsky.com. PK, we brought up something you did at paulkuharsky.com earlier in the show. I really enjoy Blake Bedingfield at your site. I think he does a really good job. I think it's must-read stuff after every Titans game. And one of the things he talked about this time out was, the combination of Dan Moore and J.C. Latham. I want to focus specifically on Latham because obviously he's coming back from the hip injury. So, the first game back from the hip injury, you got Max Crosby lined up across from you, and that did not go well for J.C. Latham. Not a very good game from Latham this time out either. So I guess my question to you is this. How much grace should we give Latham knowing that he has the hip injury that he's coming back from? He played basically 2.5 quarters against Denver and then missed some time. And how much of it is legitimate concern that he is not developing into the player that they need him to develop into? Where do we kind of stand on that in your mind?
Yeah, I think we have to lean towards patience there. Everybody's least favorite word. I'm sure he was doing what is able to be done while he was rehabbing from that hip, but resting a hip probably involves a lot of not doing stuff. I mean, it's a central element to the core, right? To the body. So what can you do to stay fit there? He's not offering up a lot on that, but we know he lost a lot of weight and was a reshaped guy. But technically, Blake had one thing there. He sends me little clips while he's writing this piece. And once in a while, I'll try to screenshot. They're not great screenshots. They're blurry, but they can illustrate some stuff. He doesn't have time in the quick turn to give me, outright film clips. Drew Beatty's given me one today on reacting to all of these teams being critical of the Titans. That'll be up shortly. But one has Latham like with the foot just planted where he's in such an awkward position trying to stop somebody coming at Cam Ward. Titans have footwork problems all over the place, starting with their quarterback and Latham. And you would think, well, he's schooled on the footwork, right? He played right tackle in college.
Right.
That doesn't have anything to do with his fitness coming off of the hip. He was still in the meetings while he was out, still talking about the mechanics that they go through on a weekly basis and all of that. And so that's a concern to me, and I think there's some kind of some wonder now, some curiosity about how diligent he is on that kind of stuff. And I think he needs to show that he is more precise and mechanical and concerned with stuff like that on the technical side. That's what I'm most concerned with from him. I think that the talk of him being a guard is premature, but I think in the remainder of this season, he needs to step up and show that he can be a good right tackle. They're desperate for that.
Boy, imagine if they end up with 2 guards
7
out
and
of
11.
2 picks that total 18, that have with a total number of 18 on 2 first-round picks, and you have 2 guards. My goodness. Well, PK, I know everybody was excited about, everybody's in agreement. Brian Callahan, he's gone. Everybody's happy about that. But even before he got fired, I said, the thing you do have to consider is like the minute he's gone, Bill Callahan's gone too, which of course is exactly how it played out. And I understand that it has not been this wonderful transformation or a great example of why Bill Callahan is such a respected offensive line coach. But I must ask, is this a problem when it comes to these young linemen developing that's now out of the picture?
Yeah, I mean, you have to wonder about the consistent message that Bill was giving them, and just their growth. Is it a better thing? Look, he certainly worked for Skoronski, right?
Yeah.
And so, he wasn't getting the results that he got elsewhere for sure. And now to have a split leadership at the position between two assistant coaches, I think we'll get a chance to talk to at least one of them tomorrow, hopefully both. I mean, it's assistant day and they're co-assistants, so I think they should both be made available. We'll see kind of what their tone is and talk to these offensive linemen now about that consistency of message. I think they're merely being Bill Callahan disciples and teaching the same message. How likely is it that they're saying, well, I'm going to take what Bill Callahan, who was my mentor, said, and I really have some adjustments to what he was saying because I disagreed with this, and this about,
I saw something from
Jason.
I saw something from Jason Hodling online. I'm going to go to the Hodling method, actually.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so,
Glenn Ellerby. Yeah.
I know.
There you go.
I know people were tired of Bill because he wasn't getting results, but I think it was better than the alternative for the remainder of the year, at least. So we'll see. I mean, Dan Moore is what he is. Cushenberry has room to play better. Zeitler's been a disappointment. And continue. And now a lot of people are talking like the Titans need to draft a tackle. I mean, I can't see after the resources that they've spent, if you're drafting a tackle at a position where at a position in the draft where he could come in and start for you, you're sacrificing corner or edge or receiver. I mean, it's time to address those positions. I think this line has to be, outside of maybe Slater replacing Zeitler, this line has to be the same next year because you've got to address other spots for once.
Well, on the Zeitler front, it kind of feels, I mean, he's been a good player in this league for a long time, but he's 35. Like, it just kind of feels like that wall has come.
The end is not.
And that's about like the Titans' luck for the wall to come right now when it comes to the Zeitler front. So we'll see next year how they move forward with that. You brought up the comments after the game from Kayshon Boutte. We think back to Michael Pittman earlier this year and had similar comments about the Titans not looking like they wanted to play. Boutte called them lazy out there, and you think about the touchdown that they scored, and Snead gets torched on the play, and did he know what coverage they, all these things. So what do you make of that? When you hear for the second time in a 7-week span a receiver from another team basically say that either the Titans don't want to play or that they're lazy? How do you view that?
Well, I mean, obviously, the other team could say what it wants when it wins. That's what the Titans like to bank on here. L'Jarius Sneed was not good in this game. Whether there was help due over the top or not, the guy ran by him pretty easily. He wasn't dropping off to go get somebody else on the Boutte touchdown over the middle, right? Diggs also didn't react well. And I think Amani Hooker may have had some responsibility there. I think this Drew Beatty piece that I'm about to put up gets into some of what appear to be some of the responsibilities on some of this stuff. Snead, gave up at least both touchdowns. He was central in another play up the sideline where, he got beat. Did not look good. And then when he drops out of the game, not limping, hate to question a guy's injury, but I think it's fair to question, off of this game, like where's the fight and the determination to come back and get in there? Does it just go away with the quad? Is this the quad that was the quad last year? Is this going to be now a perpetual thing again? The L'Jarius Sneed thing just brings so many questions and so much frustration. And I think they really look to L'Jarius Sneed as one of their veteran leader tone setters, which is hard sometimes when you see what he does on a Sunday to think there's a hell of a lot going on in the locker room that's great and healthy.
There's nothing about him that says leadership. Nothing in his interactions, in what he has done, or even it just gotten involved in away from the field and in his play. I mean, PK, I think it's pretty clear that several times this year he has been the one guy who didn't know the coverage. I mean, like rookie crap from him, which is, again, and I don't want to overreact to like Jets. The Jets are happy with Brownlee, but it does blow my mind when you move the young kid out who you still have. You have time to work on stuff. You have a rookie deal for a mid-round pick, and meanwhile, Snead to me is like I don't want to see him play another snap. Seriously. And he probably wants the same thing. And that's right. I mean, honestly. So I guess everybody is on the same page. But I think he's up there among the high on the list of disasters when it comes to personnel decisions the last few years for this franchise.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the cost versus return.
Am I overstating?
No, I mean, I think when you look at Dan Moore, I'd put him in that basket, but they knew what they were getting, right? They couldn't come right out and say, hey, we're paying a premium for an average left tackle. We need to get at least to average at left tackle, and this is what it takes in the modern league. But ultimately, that is what has sifted out, right? That message has gotten out. Like, we're not dumb. We know what we did here. It was the best situation. We can't draft again. We're going to take a quarterback in the first round, and we've got to address edge and other things. That's what we did. Like, we concede. We overpaid to get average at left tackle. It's not like that with Snead. They thought they were getting a guy who was going to be a number one playmaking lockdown corner, and he's not been that for any kind of long stretch, for more than a minute at a time.
Yeah.
And then, to talk about the leadership, I think they look at him as that in part because of the void they have in that. I mean, they brought in Cody Barton to be that. I'm still on the side of you've got to produce in order to lead.
He's not very good.
And Cody Barton's not producing, and L'Jarius Sneed's not producing. Who's producing on defense outside of Simmons? I mean, it's hard to find leadership there because you're not. I love Amani Hooker.
Well, Cedric Gray.
Cedric Gray it can grow into a leader here because he's producing, but he's young, right? And it's hard to step into that role, especially when the guy next to you was paid specifically to have that role and has a captaincy, right? But Cody Barton, after the game, saying it's like whack-a-mole with our mistakes everywhere, and then you watch that 4th and 1 play, and both he and Denard Wilson are saying we called the soft coverage. Why are you calling a soft coverage there where you're 5 yards off the sticks? Like, what sense does that make? Keith Bullock, I think, is out there saying, if you're going to get beat on that, get beat over the top and get hurt.
You have to.
But don't let them beat you like that with a one-handed catch where the guy has time to collect that ball because people are 5 yards away from him. What is that?
Paul Kuharsky with us the rest of the hour, talking all things Titan. 615-737-1025, our phone number. More coming up next. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Paul Kuharsky with us here on the program, taking your thoughts on the Titans, 615-737-1025. Keith on the YouTube chat pointing out, hey, Morgan Cox producing very well out there. Morgan Cox continuing to get it done for the Tennessee
Haven't
Titans.
said his name one time.
That's good. Good for the long snapper. The Tyler Lockett situation. So Lockett asked for his release. The Titans grant it. And now, not to spend too much time on Tyler Lockett, who had 10 catches for 70 yards and a fortunate fumble recovery in the end zone. But it doesn't work out, and now you've got an already thin wide receiver room that just got a little bit thinner. So if you're the Titans, particularly right now with Ridley, I guess uncertain, moving forward in the short term, what do you do if you're the Titans? How do you attack that? Who is going to take that spot in your mind?
Well, DK, first and foremost, and I think that's part of what sparked Lockett's request. Excuse me. He had a good game there. They used him well. He's not much of a blocker, and they put him in position to block on screens, which I think was foolish use. This was good use. Get the ball in the hands of your fast people with Ridley not on the field, DK able to run. Chig, Okonkwo, a good yards after the catch guy. They didn't get the ball in his hands in this game. But look, I will say this about Lockett, who I don't think brought much to this team at all. But particularly in the first 3-4 games, there were many occasions, and I don't use that word many lightly, where he was open on a first level route and where Cam threw beyond him to something more difficult that often wasn't completed.
Yeah.
So I think Lockett was doing his job, getting open on those under routes. Now, is DK the same kind of receiver? Are we going to see that from Kinsey? Might Restrepo get a chance in the fans' demand? I think the fans demand it. Like, we deserve to see Restrepo. There's a very minor leaguish attitude, like let the fans determine the 53. But whoever is in that role, and Bryce Oliver is going to come back, and Bryce Oliver is a good notch, I think, above those practice squad candidates in Kinsey, Prochet, and Restrepo, a guy that they thought could be Nick Westbrook Akine, at some level of his progression. They're still pushing Cam to not sacrifice these underneath routes as often as he does. There was a play out where he threw the play. People remember the Gunnar Helm up the right side. He had kind of three guys around him. He threw it high. It was incomplete. DK in the flat had about 7-8 yards of cushion.
Yeah.
And if he threw it quickly to the flat there, I think DK could have taken it and run towards the middle, where he had an easy 10, 12-yard gain. And if he beat one guy one-on-one, could have been bigger than that. Those are the throws that he's passing on too frequently, where we understand he's a hunter, like Brian Callahan said, and you like the hunter mentality, but he's got to calibrate it to the right degree. And he hunts too much and doesn't take – I can't believe we're in a situation where we're saying the guy's overdoing it.
Yeah.
In terms of looking for the bigger play and underdoing it in terms of taking some of the underneath stuff that it could be plenty productive and get them some first downs that would help them march the field.
I'm with Gino. It's time to catch the strep, baby. Good text, Gino. Time to catch the strep. PK, the fans deserve it. I don't care what you say. The fans deserve to see a little Xavier Restrepo on the field. Let's get it cooking.
Fans deserve it.
I mean,
make sure you wind him up at the line of scrimmage. Ready to
can
go.
It be like the CFL where you can
get a running start,
like 5 yards?
Who was the Titan receiver in Seattle a few years ago that got the running? Is Josh Reynolds? They get Josh Reynolds just running down the field before the ball is snapped.
Yeah, that was impressive.
Good memory.
So on camps, PK, the fumbling thing I did want to ask you about, because we have tried to explore the hand size. Apparently players stretch their hands sometimes before those measurements come by, which I didn't even think was a thing, but apparently they do. So maybe he's really an 8.75, even though he's a 9. But we had fun with that. But I do wonder if is the sidearm sort of weirdness that he does a fair amount, does it make it more vulnerable, make it more likely he'll drop the ball at times?
Maybe. I mean, where are all the scouts and analysts talking about his hands? They all talked about Kenny Pickett's hands, and it was a massive storyline. Now,
well, that's because Kenny Pickett had baby hands.
Well, Kenny Pickett's hands are not that much smaller than Cam Ward's hands, and we didn't hear a word about Cam Ward's
Are you
hands.
sure?
Are we sure that we didn't
Well, Kenny
hear
Pickett's
about it?
8.5 and Cam's at 9. So take that for what you will.
That's a half inch.
Yeah. I know that
Thank
means a lot to you. That's fine for the no discussion, but in quarterback hand signs, I think we probably should have heard about it. So I'm down on not hearing about it from the big guns, and then all these amateur scouts who claim to know everything and be able to talk about things, routes and stuff. Like I'm supposed to believe that they can scout, and they didn't mention it either. I don't claim to be any of these things. I count on these people, and they didn't say anything.
Sometimes you just
Cam
notice
Ward's
things. Sometimes you just notice things, you don't realize until someone gets to the NFL. Again, I don't know if this is going to be a chronic problem for him. I mean, in all seriousness, I don't think hand size is it. I do think that maybe the way he holds the ball at times is an issue, but we all can agree that he has to figure this out.
It's absolute carelessness. I mean, he's going to make his share of mistakes as he grows. They all do, but you can't have dropping the ball as a column that you're ticking off on a regular basis.
Head back to our phone line. Welcome in Trey to the program. Trey, good morning. Thank you for calling in.
Good morning, guys.
Good morning.
Hey, how you doing, PK? Hey, PK. I wanted to ask you. Hold on. I wanted to ask you, from all of your years of evaluating tape, watching tapes as far as quarterbacks, how they maneuver in the pocket, progression, regressions, and after everything that you've seen as far as Cam Ward's tape, where do you rank him as far as the quarterbacks that you've seen on tape and in person as far as his development goes? And as far as what I can see, I think that when you're a quarterback and you're picked number one, you have to come out of the box like as a gift as a quarterback. You shouldn't be back there running around like a hyena trying to keep people from sacking you and busting your head open. Those are basic skills that a quarterback should need when they're coming into the league. And I don't understand why he hasn't progressed trending north this year after 5-6 games. It's still the same thing. And I just want your reaction and comment.
He should be more like McNair, right?
Thank you, Trey.
Yes.
Yeah.
But
he should be more like McNair, who needed like 3 years to settle in to being a quarterback in the NFL. I mean, just shot your whole thing. I don't watch a lot of tape and study a lot of quarterbacks. I'm not a scout and I don't know everything I'm seeing on there. But look, it takes some guys some time. Peyton Manning threw 1 billion interceptions as a rookie. Quarterback growth is not linear, and it's not the same guy to guy. Has he shown enough to be encouraging that maybe he can turn into a good quarterback in the league? I think yes. I think it's too early to say things. Is he leaving the pocket too early sometimes? Absolutely. Go look at Blake Bedingfield's review of this game this week. There are times he had Spears right over the middle on one play, and he decides to leave the pocket, where if he just stood pat, this was directly over him, not much further than Robbie's sitting for me in the studio right now. Spears facing him on a very easy play. Spears could have turned around and gotten 10 yards and then, maybe had a chance to beat someone, or people would have converged on him. But some easy stuff. He needs to be coached better, and I think he's got a chance, but it's too early to make huge proclamations about his future.
A lot more to get to on the Titans front with PK. We will do that next. Take more of your questions. 615-737-1025. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. Paul Kuharsky with us, brought to you by Jimmy Kelly Steakhouse and Seal Master. Taking your thoughts on the Titans, 615-737-1025. PK, Titans rushed for 39 yards in this game. Now, they didn't run it a lot. 12 carries, 39 yards for the Titans, 3.3 per carry. I realize New England's got a very good rush defense. I think they're now up to number 3 in the NFL in rush defense after that game. The Titans, however, are rushing for 75.7 yards per game, which is 31st in the National Football League. Only the Bengals are worse at 68.9. Now, I know when you look at stats like that, how often are the Titans trailing in games? How often are the Titans trailing in the second half? Those things certainly factor in. But we've talked with you about Pollard, who just doesn't look explosive at all and has not all year. Spears is back, and he's looked okay so far. I think he was 4-4 an attempt on Sunday running the ball against the Patriots. What do you make of the Titans' running game right now? How do you handle that moving forward if you're Mike McCoy and this staff?
I would mix Pollard in more. I would mix Spears in more. Pollard, really, I thought you'd get more than the 1 year, where last year he just looked significantly better. The line, I think, is somehow a better pass protecting line, though that shouldn't be the case. But I
That's
think
giving up 30 sacks.
Yeah, right.
Pollard's averaging 3.9 an attempt right now, which is just not good.
But wouldn't you agree, Joe? They're not mauling anybody to create space for Pollard, who also isn't breaking a tackle or helping create anything. It's a complete unit problem.
Yeah, I do. I figured Latham returning would at least, because I thought in the Denver game you did see like some lanes, some push, right? But maybe it will still come together with Latham. But yeah, like you say, if this is a better, I'm not necessarily disagreeing with you, but my God, is that sobering that this would be a better pass protecting offensive line.
Absolutely true. And the game situations just kill them. They're behind by when they got the ball with the lead in this game in against the Patriots. It was the 5th snap of the season with the lead.
It's amazing. It's unbelievable.
So that shows you how much their run pass ratio has been dictated by game circumstances. So, that's a big factor of it too. But also, I don't know what Pollard's long run is. I think he's had a 27 or something like that. But generally, if Pollard has a good run, it's 11 yards. And again,
as long as 21 this year, by the way.
I think we all go through this where we watch other games around the league and just, you see running backs break off 45-yard runs pretty often. You see receivers make, some extraordinary catches pretty often, and you go, oh, that stuff's allowed. Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing. But there have been great backs in this league who don't have 40, 50-yard runs, which is fine. Like, I don't know how many Scadaboo is going to have, but by golly, that guy's going to bulldoze some people, and he's going to get, 7 yards when he should get 3. I just feel like with Pollard, there's just, like, even that stuff, I thought he was more powerful last year, just more effective. And I'm with you. I think that Spears should get some more run. But again, this is, Spears, I think we can all agree there's just it still seems like there's that one guy always gets him, like it's like, oh, he almost broke that one. He's like that. He's almost breaks it guy on some plays. He looks better and like he has a little more juice than Pollard. But I think that's another position. Not to keep bringing this to, here's a position they must draft. Here's a position, but I think that's another thing moving forward for Cam Ward that they're going to have to address, is to get more dynamic play back there.
Absolutely, and you can't overdraft it. Look, people find running backs in the 4th and 5th round, and there are running backs that get shuffled around the league who play pretty effectively in the right systems, and this is a team that's going to have to find people like that, given this immense board that we talk about of need.
How concerned are we about Simmons, given the fact that, I mean, he's far and away their best player. When he was out of the game on defense, an already bad rush defense just looked worse. I mean, they're fourth worst rush defense in the league, largely with him, giving up 139 yards a game. What's your concern level with Simmons and the hamstring?
Yeah, I think it's early to tell, but I wouldn't be optimistic. Guys don't bounce back from hamstrings in a week, generally speaking. Even guys who are play in closed quarters as opposed to wide receivers. So I think they're probably in trouble there, at least in the short term. And Snead, who knows? So we need to mention we talked about Brownlee. Somebody hit Brownlee earlier. He is playing in the slot with the Jets. And he's thriving there. So it's a questionable move based on on-field performance versus culture, and the Titans need on-field performance. But Jalen Armour-Davis has not been good at all, which leaves guys like Baker not to really get examined because we're busy looking at 18 out there. Shy Tuttle and those guys, Wilson said, you can't expect these guys to do Simmons's work, when he's the best defensive tackle in the league. And so you're dropping off at the one position where you had, reliable, consistent, excellent production.
How do you view McCreary in all this? Because, sorry, Joe, to me, I look at him and I don't think he's an exceptional player or anything. He's okay out there. But I also, if you don't sign him, you're just adding yet another spot where you got to go get somebody in the offseason if you're the Titans. And I know they're going to have a ton of cap space. But, at some point, don't you have to retain some people just for the sake of the bodies that'll be out there?
Yeah, I think that too with Chig also. I mean, McCreary's played fewer snaps because they played this 3 safety package. And Denard said yesterday, Winston had a package last week that they didn't get to. He played 2 or 3 snaps. That he's going to uptick his play. To me, that means Diggs is going to downtick. I don't think Diggs is going to be happy downticking, though I think he's the guy that's got to come off the field more. I don't know what the next coaching staff is going to think about McCreary and 3 safety package and all of that. But I will say this, if you're moving on from Roger McCreary in any way, shape, or form, you have to know who you're replacing him with. You have to have back channel conversations and say, all right, our next nickelback's going to be this guy who's a free agent. And we pretty much have that wrapped up. Or it's going to be one of these 3 guys. And we know we're getting one of those 3 guys at this price. Yeah. But if Roger McCreary's price is not big, I don't know how you don't keep him in that role, given just what you're saying. You let McCreary go, you've got another need. You let Chig go, you've got another need. And you can't keep creating needs when you've got a billion needs as it is. It's just too much.
And if you're not cheap, then you can sign some of these players for not huge numbers and still have all kinds of cap space. Now, Denard Wilson struggling so much, you almost dropped a Denard Walker on us, PK. Going back to Simmons, though, the Titans want it out there. They're no thanks. We're not moving 98. Do you believe that they truly will not move him under any circumstance?
I don't have a strong personal feeling. I don't have personal information, but this is where the national guys always come in and get their stuff on coaching searches and trade movement, and all indications from there seem to be that they won't move Simmons. I think if somebody came knocking and offered a 1+, they'd have to consider it. He's getting a new contract after this season with some guaranteed money, or this nice, polite Jeff Simmons, his new agent will start making noise, at least making things uncomfortable, at least behind the scenes. But I don't have a problem with them keeping their best player. They don't have many good players. If you want to get to the kind of draft numbers that Chad Brinker talked about, then moving Jeff Simmons is the thing that's going to get you there. Moving Jeff Simmons and having a top 3 draft pick that you could trade down out of would really get you into that lane. But it is hard to deal the one good thing that you have.
One more segment with PK coming up next. Taking your thoughts, 615-737-1025. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. Welcome back in. Final segment of the day. Paul Kuharsky with us from paulkuharsky.com, taking your questions for the Titans, 615-737-1025. Trevor on the text line asking PK if you think Borgonzi regrets giving Amani Hooker a new deal before the season and that he has not looked very good so far this year.
Take the long-term view still. It's a little early for that, but Amani Hooker has been disappointing. And I thought the safeties would be a strength. I think Xavier Woods has been pretty solid. There's that one play that can't remember the game, but it's an early play near the goal line. Was that Devontae Adams?
Yes.
He and somebody else were right there at the goal line, which was a bad play. But I think he's been pretty quiet, which is a good thing. I think Diggs is looking kind of slow. And I think we're going to see a Kevin Winston takeover of that gradually. Or maybe it won't be so gradual once we see Winston in there and he starts making plays. But Hooker has not been himself, which is disappointing because I mean, he's gotten new contracts before. He's not a get the money and fall off kind of guy. And he's not as old as people perceive him to be. Maybe 27. So still time for him to rebound and be better. And I think a lot of strain on those guys in the back end, given that the pass rush has been inconsistent, though the pass rush has been better, though the pass rush is about to get worse because Simmons is about to not be part of it.
Yep.
So I'm going to ask you, Chase asked me this. I know we have, infinite amount of time to talk about this stuff, but Chase asked me this yesterday. So I'm going to ask you, PK, right now at this moment, quick answer, your top 3 coaching candidates for the Titans in order.
Yeah, I'm not great at having this. I think that McCarthy is kind of the baseline guy. I do like the idea of the name that I consistently butcher, Robert Saleh. Saleh paired ideally with Mike McDaniel from Miami, who's getting fired. And some people seem to think he's got a chance at another head coaching job. I don't. I think he needs some significant rehabilitation. And I don't know that he'll resurface as a head coach at all, no matter how well he does.
I think he's a lifer at OC.
Yeah. And if he's a lifer at OC, if they could get him here and he's friends with Robert, they've got a significant tie. So that could be a nice marriage. I think I might put that number 1. McCarthy maybe number 2. And then I'd look at the kind of Minter, Halfley, that kind of neighborhood.
So you hate Arthur Smith, huh?
I like Arthur Smith too, but I do think I mean, I would need him to give really good answers about his personnel deployment during his time in Atlanta, which was relatively, I think we forget how mystifying it was. Now, I think Pitts has proven to be a questionable talent, but Bijan Robinson has not. So, given the answers there, and I love Arthur. I think it needs to be a leader of men. And I'd need to research more how Arthur did as leader of men in Atlanta.
McCarthy's my number 1 at the moment. I don't really love all the options that are out there. They're going to come up with a good candidate. I think McCarthy's my number 1. And we've talked about him. He's got flaws, but all these guys have flaws, right? It's why, Saleh, I know he's with the Jets. There are some people there that really didn't like Robert Saleh. So, what's that going to look like? Nagy's another name that's been thrown out there. He did some good things in Chicago, but it flamed out there. They're going to have some options that you can absolutely justify to be their head coach. I don't think there's a great option just sitting out there.
Yeah. Who's Joe's favorite? You're probably a Gruden guy.
Oh man, James Franklin, man, are you kidding me? That guy, all that guy does is win football games in Nashville. Bring him back to do more.
Arthur's quarterback play was terrible in Atlanta, so he was handcuffed by that.
No doubt.
That's fair.
I'm higher.
Me a reminder.
I'm higher on Nagy than you guys. The more I've thought about it, Trubisky's garbage, and the guy 12-4. Yes, he flamed out, but also it's the Bears. The Bears, like this organization now, can make a lot of people look bad. And there's also the Bergonzi thing there.
Yep.
I think he's a pretty level-headed. I thought he was a decent head coach. He's obviously a good offensive guy, so you have the quarterback thing, but you have experience too, so you're not gambling on a Brady or something like
Interesting.
that.
We're looking at
my number 1.
Some coaches that were with bad teams, the way some of these quarterbacks who were with bad teams on their second chances are doing well. Don't block the box. Be sure to lock your locks.
That does it for us today on the program. Appreciate PK for being in here. Next Man Up with Jake Lyman is up next. You're listening to 102.5 The Game.